What's up, Flip Factor family? This is Michael Green with the Flip Factor Podcast, the #1 podcast dedicated to teaching you how to find and win high profit flips and manage your contractors so you can make more money and have the freedom to do whatever the F you want. Today, I'm going to share my exact post-flip analysis process that you can use to help improve your results immediately. And I have a very special guest today, Delante Desouza. I don't know if you guys ever seen him before, but he's been on once or twice, but he knows a few things about real estate. This is what he does every day. You know, he's my friend too also, so we love having him on. So thanks for coming on, Delante. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Love to be here.
That's always good. So what are we giving him today, Delante? Like, what's the cool stuff that we're going to share with the Flip Factor family out there and the listeners?
Oh man, we're going to blow their minds today. First of all, if anybody's listening right now, I need you to grab a pen and paper or pull your car over. Because this is some life-changing stuff. This is stuff that what the 1%ers do, the 1% who crush it. This is what they do. So you need to write this down, write it on in blood on somebody. If you don't have a pen or paper handy, you need this.
I'm not messing around. I mean, I believe you, dude. I mean, I ain't never seen Delante get that passionate about anything. This must be the real deal. I literally got a pen and paper now. Is this for me? Am I teaching it?
Yeah.
I think you might have oversold me, man. Now I'm nervous. I don't know if I can deliver this high level of content. All right, I'm putting my own pen down then. I didn't realize I was the one teaching. I thought you had a ninja tip you were giving everyone.
Oh, no. I was talking about the podcast today.
Oh, okay. Awesome. He's like, well, Mike, go ahead and deliver that. I made the promises, you deliver. So we do got some good stuff. And I will tell you that Delante is pretty passionate because when I started implementing what we're going to show you today and talk about, it really changed everything in my business. And I've seen that happen for many of my students. It's one of the first things we do when we work with any new person who's done flips is we go back and do a post-flip analysis on all the flips they've done to really start to figure out what's been working for them, what's not been working. And I want to share today my exact process for that. Before we jump in, we got a quick announcement. If you guys want to learn from us, our systems we're using, how to find contractors and how to get great profit deals and consistently make checks every month in your house flipping business, reach out to me at mike@theflipfactor.net. That's my email. You can also go to theflipfactor.net. That's our website. We got some cool free content on there, some stuff that you can check out. And we do a bunch of webinars where we share we share processes of how to build a business and all the exact systems that I'm using every day. Delante's using very good, proven stuff that's very simple and to the point. Just like everything we teach on this show. Hopefully, you resonate with it. You like it. This is stuff that we give you is no fluff. It's right to the point. It's actionable. It's things you can use. When me and Delante decided we were going to do this show, we want to make sure we were giving good stuff. I've listened to some podcasts before where it's 50 minutes in and I ain't learned anything. And I'm a learning guy, right? I like to learn. I'm not I have fun listening to those podcasts, but I actually want to learn how to make some money. So we're going to give you the money making stuff. We'll hopefully be a little bit entertaining, but our focus will always be on delivering some really awesome content for you today in every episode. So hopefully you guys appreciate that. If anyone loves the show and you guys like what you're hearing, feel free to go to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. If you hate what you're listening to, then keep your opinion to yourself. We don't want to hear it. And please don't tell the world we suck because we would cry. Delante would cry for sure.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit tougher because I grew up in a tough neighborhood, so I would only cry a little.
But I'm extremely sensitive, guys.
Yes, do not make Delante cry because he doesn't want to cry, and he really, he works hard to do this show for you. So let's jump right in, Delante. Let's start with your first question that you got from the Facebook group.
This is, something that a lot of the new investors don't really talk about, and honestly, I didn't even know about this when I first started learning about real estate. But you do this thing where you have this post-flip analysis. First of all, what is a post-flip analysis? What does that even mean?
So quick breakdown for it. A post-flip analysis is much like a post-game analysis. Football players when they're done playing because they make a lot of money and they take their job very serious. They sit down and they look at tape from the game, right? They analyze the plays, things they did, things they made mistakes on, what they did well. That's exactly what we do with house flipping. Now, some of the biggest knowledge you'll ever get is not going to come from a guru. It's not going to come from a 30K program where you go and do weekends with people. It's going to come from the post-flip analysis of your own flips you've done, right? Because a lot of what you're doing incorrectly shows up in that post-flip analysis. So we're going to talk a little bit about so what it is, it's really just looking at your flip and breaking down everything that went well and everything that didn't go well. And now that's a science behind that. Not every, if you're new, having a coach is very helpful because they're going to see things you don't see. But even if you just did it yourself, you're going to be in a way better place than if you didn't do it. Because just being thoughtful of I want to learn, puts you in this position of being learning based versus someone who thinks, well, the world just happens and I can't control that.
I think there's something that I kind of want to touch on because this is pretty interesting. So when people have gone through their flips, they talk to me on the phone, they say, well, this flip went horrible, but I learned a lot from it. I won't give a deposit to a contractor anymore. Or like they say, I learned some good lessons from my flip. What is the difference between just going through a flip and just being like, oh, well, I learned some stuff. You got to go through the school of hard knocks versus really sitting down and doing an entire post-flip analysis of like beginning to end?
Well, so I love what you just said, and I think that's a really good point you just made. Like people say, like, I learned a lot, but lots of times when I ask them what they've learned, they've actually learned a very weird reaction to like, well, I learned never to trust anyone again. Like, you know what I mean? I got to do it myself. You can't trust anyone in this world. And I felt that way before because like somebody rips me off, like I'm furious and I don't like being ripped off. And it makes me feel like a punk, right? That somebody took my money. But what I've really learned, and this is what we learn when something's not working, we don't learn that we just never do a certain thing again, right? We learned that our process that we currently use didn't work. Now within that, if we decide like we're never going to give a contractor money up front again, then we have to have a system to support that choice. So you can't just say, I'll never give money again, because guess what's going to happen? You're going to tell that to a bunch of contractors and they're going to say, well, we're not going to work for you. And now I don't support people giving money up front, but what I do support is if you decide to make a big decision like that, you need a process to get that to happen. And we actually have another podcast we're going to talk about how to get people to work with you without you giving a bunch of money up front and taking risk, but you need a system for it. You can't just say, well, I learned never to do that. Well, I learned never to trust a human being again. And I learned that I will need to be at the house every waking minute of the day. These are what I call learning things that are going to be counterproductive to you. So when we're post-game analyzing, right, we just want to identify where the problem is. Sometimes when you do a post-flip analysis, and I call it post-game analysis, but post-flip analysis, then you want to decide there's a couple areas we want to look at and we want to go in deep detail. We want to look at when we bought the house, how much did we think we were going to sell it for after the fact, right? So that's one. And if we thought 285 and we sold it for 295, well, that's always good. But if we sold it for 275, that's bad. Right? We need to do a deep dive into what we missed and, what made us be $10,000 off, right? 10 grand is 10 grand. 10 grand is the difference in winning and losing in this business. 10 grand is enough for your offers never to get accepted if you make bad choices in the future. It's also enough to get every offer accepted and not make money, right? So there's a lot with that. So when you're thinking like that, 10 grand is pretty important. So we want to know that. The second thing is how long do we think we were going to take to do the renovation? So if we thought 8 weeks and it took like twice as long as that, well, we want to kind of dive in and we want to figure out exactly why it took longer. Well, and then we're going to probably write out, like we got the pen here. That's why Delante said get the pen. We're going to write out all the excuses we heard, right? Well, the contractor's cat died. Well, he found something behind the wall and it took longer. Well, he got kind of busy. It's just everything will take longer when you have bad contractors. They're going to find millions of excuses to give you. If you work with them long enough, you'll hear many of these excuses more than one time, right? Sometimes I've heard them in like 3 months. I've heard the same excuse 4 times. So we're looking for people who get results that do not get excuses, right? It's either you got reasons or you got results. It's something one of my coaches told me, and I totally agree with it. Great contractors have results. They have no reasons. They make things happen. They're magic makers, right? I didn't get caught in traffic. I didn't get a flat because, I get a flat. I have a jack and a spare. So I'll be 10 minutes late is the only thing I accept is I got a flat. Not that I didn't work. I didn't see you for 3 days because I had a flat. Now that's not uncommon. So post-flip analysis, we want to know, like, did the contractor get done on time and what was the reasons for it? And, did this person end up having a lot of reasons? Because, honestly, I've had contractors who never have a reason. I worked with them for years and they never have a reason for not doing what they're doing. And I've had contractors in 2 weeks have more reason than another great contractor has had in 5 years. So we want to know people that have too many reasons and too many excuses. That means we need to either redo our system a little bit or we need to take and hire some better people. Something we talk about in a lot of the other podcasts too. That's the main thing we're looking at there. And then the last piece is, did we come in on budget or not? And if we didn't, what was missed? What was different than we originally thought? Was it that we decided to add some stuff that we didn't put into our original plan? If so, then that's really important for us to be detailed enough. The most likely reason that it went over budget, however, will be that it took way longer and then there was additional cost. Also that the contractor quoted a price and then change ordered that price up. So this is something we actually have a whole podcast on, is change orders and how people like to change the number on you because, it's like give them what they want and tell them what they actually have to pay later. Contractors love doing that, saying, hey, I can do that for $50K. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, I didn't realize the grass was this high. It's another $18,000. It's just like unbelievable. And everyone deals with it because they think it's a standard in the industry, but it's really not. Right? If you create your own rules and you start operating like a commercial company and not like a retail company, you can get rid of change orders and completely never accept them. And you can get people to do jobs where they have the risk of the job being more than they thought, but they also have the benefit of maybe getting it done sooner and they get to make money either way. right? Sometimes they'll make a lot more money. Most times they will. And then every once in a while, they'll have to put a couple extra hours in. But they're always keeping our costs fixed is the secret. So, there's more we talk about too on that. So at the end of the day, though, doing a post-flip analysis is like, did the house sell for what I thought? Did the house get finished in the time I thought? And did the house budget stay where I thought? And the answer is no, no, no on all three of those. Then you got some major issues. If it's even one of those, you actually need a lot of help. Just getting your budget right can take a lot of time. It could be a complete shift in the way you're doing business. But the key is if you're not getting this stuff right, you're not getting a consistent result, then you're stressed out likely, right? Because you make this big investment, you put a lot of months into it, and it doesn't do what you think. Well, likely you're pretty stressed out about that. I know I was when it was happening to me, and I never felt like I could really run my business properly. I always felt like I was just like maybe one or two bad rehabs away from being out of the business. It's hard to live. It's hard to live that way, right? It's hard to sleep at night when you're running a business like that.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that, I kind of want to talk about, Mike, is the fact that this post-game analysis system that you use, you use it still to this day, right?
Every house.
Yeah, every single house. You're just looking to see. More so nowadays, from what I see at least, it seems like the post-game analysis is more of what didn't we expect that went right with the flip that got us 10 extra K or 20 extra K. So it's kind of funny, once you get all the bad stuff out of your system and out of your process, then you can start finding what the good stuff is that's going to get you extra money. So it's kind of like a filtering. I guess you could say it's kind of like a filtering system to kind of get the gunk out of the pipes in your business, to start implementing some better practices and then getting into some awesome practices.
So you brought up a good point, because I think of the negative, right? Like I'm just thinking, oh, okay, all the bad things that happened. And you're right. That's what happened for the first few years we did it. But by doing that over time and always being aware of what wasn't working, we were able to put systems in place, fix it. Now we have everything, like processes for everything that make it go well. Like there's ways to control your destiny 100%. Anybody time somebody tells you, well, that's just the way flipping is, that's bullcrap. That is not the way flipping is. Anything can be controlled. Anything can be well thought out. Anything can be, multiple steps ahead where you can minimize problems. All that can happen. But once you start to get all that out the way, Delante used a really great word, like you move things out of the way, you can start focusing on the profit multipliers in your business, the things that like cause you to make more money than your average competitors. And when you start to put your energy into multiplying profits versus, stopping things from leaking out the boat, that's when your business starts to scale up. That's when we went from making 25K a house to making 40K a house, doing the exact same house. But now for the same work we did like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and only made 25K, we're now making 40K in a much more competitive market too, because the market has gotten highly competitive. So we're making more money when it's tougher for everyone else. And how we've been doing that is through the profit multipliers.
And it's so funny because doing a post-flip analysis is such a simple concept. After your flip, just sit down and literally break down what went right, what went wrong, how can we improve on the next one, and do that across every house that you do. Your results per house is going to increase exponentially over time. But a lot of people don't consider that. They're just, a lot of the newer investors, and even some seasoned investors, even seasoned investors, I would say the average investor is more like, oh, well, that didn't work, so I'm not going to do that again. But they don't really challenge why it didn't work, or like, how can I make it work if it didn't work? Like they're just like, all right, well, that was painful, so let's avoid that. Never let it happen.
The first 4 or 5 years I was in the game, this is my post-flip analysis. Like, oh, we didn't make what we thought. Oh, crap, that sucks. It was like a 5-10 minute conversation. I did it recently with a student, and we spent 2.5 hours on it. And then I left them with homework to go find more out. Right? You could spend 8 hours on your post-flip analysis, and it would be the best 8 hours you've ever spent in your life if you were learning more about how to perfect your process and what's working and what's not. Because see, we spend all this time fixing things that are going pretty well, but the post-flip analysis tells you what you need to work on versus what you do not need to work on. So you're probably doing a lot of things right. Like for many years, I did a lot of things right, or I wouldn't have made it at all. But it was all about the couple things I was doing wrong that were causing me to lose money, caused me to get very inconsistent profits. I had to work twice as hard to get deals and get deals done because of those few things that were sabotaging me. So I had to just get those out of the way. And when you do a post-flip analysis, you do like a real deep dive into it. It's pretty amazing. So it's one of the things I love to do with any of my students. I do on all my deals. These days, like you said, I probably don't spend 2.5 hours on it anymore, but I can in an hour, I can do a pretty deep, post-flip analysis and figure out some things that went well. And what I'm loving that we see now is that a lot of our properties are selling for a lot more than we expected. And we want to know that, because if we're getting the comps a little too conservative, then that might give me the ability to increase my offers and win more deals.
I think we kind of have one of the indicators as to why our properties are selling for more. With the recent layout design emphasis that we've been doing on our flips, would you say that's been a product of doing a post-flip analysis, like testing a new concept, doing a post-flip analysis, seeing what worked. And
yeah, for sure. I mean, every good thing that we've added to the business has been like, us trying to figure out why the house did so well or why the house did so poorly. We're never going to be 100% right or accurate, but if we do it on every house, we start to see patterns. So once you've done it on, for me, I went back and did 6 months. It took me 6 months to do this, but I looked at 300 houses and I looked at all the ones that did really well and all the ones that didn't do very well. And then everything in between. And that's why it took 6 months to get all that data together. But what I started to recognize was there were some patterns. There was patterns of things that did really well, and there was patterns of things that didn't do well. And one of the number one reasons that the houses that didn't do well is that I didn't nail the layout. A great example, and I think we'll talk about this in another one, but a great example is we had a property recently that, kind of was one we did a long time ago, and the layout sucked on it and it didn't sell very well. And then we just bought it again recently. So we're getting an opportunity. And when I walked through it, the first thing I was thinking, like, well, this wasn't a great deal in the past. Like, I need to go see it and figure out what the heck I did wrong. And that was 10 years ago in 2010. I was very new. I'd probably done about maybe 30 houses at the time. I was about maybe 18 months into the game. And, so thought I was a champ, right? I thought I knew everything. 30 houses, right? You're the man. You do 30 houses, you know everything. And I was sitting here at over 1,000 houses. I'm just like, I completely knew nothing. It was so interesting for like Mike Green, 1,100 houses in versus Mike Green, 30 houses in. Like, I look back and judge my old self because I had so much. That house is awful. I haven't even told you this story, Delante. You're hearing this for the first time. I just bought a house this weekend. That is a house I did 10 years ago, and it's a complete train wreck, dude. It's awful. So wow. I think I did a video on it so everybody can check it out. We'll have it out there in the world somewhere because I just thought it was such an interesting concept to be like, okay, how am I going to do it better with all the new experience I have? And yes, I walked through there and I instantly was like picked out multiple major mistakes I made. Well, there's a reason it's set and didn't sell.
Oh, so this is a house. I was about to say, how did you get it back like 10 years later? Like, did they default on the loan?
Yeah, they got foreclosed on it. It became an REO. I bought it as an REO. They sold it to a homeowner. They stopped making their payments, I guess, sometime in the last 10 years. And then the bank foreclosed on it and sold it back to me again. Like, thanks, Mike. We got your house back for you again. This is not the first time it's happened. It hasn't happened often, but it's actually happened for sure. So you get in the game long enough, you start to recycle your own properties, which is always interesting. Because I was like, hey, at least I know what work was done and how, and what we do need and what we don't. Because I probably didn't have the best people back then. So some things I knew I needed to work on. I was like, I might have to maybe upgrade that hair from back in the day. We know our own weaknesses and strengths now because we've been studying them through post-flip analysis, right? That's so I know that Mike, who did not do many post-flip analysis, didn't have a deep understanding of the business, could never do what Mike today can do. I'm getting take 2 on that. We'll see if I do better 10 years later. I sure hope so. But no guarantees. It might not work out well. I don't know. But when I walked through, it was very clear the mistakes I made are like core mistakes that I teach every student to follow and not make and just, avoid like the plague. Old me made a lot of really major mistakes. That's why I didn't have great results back then. I just, I'd always have a couple flips that did well, a couple that didn't. It was very up and down kind of roller coaster feel. Some of you are listening to this now and maybe you're thinking you're pretty great. You've done 10 houses, 15, you think you know a lot. Well, yeah, I get it. Totally get it. But, you always have to realize there's so much more to learn, right? There's just so much more to learn. With that being said, I'm like about 11 years in now and well over 1,000 houses. And I have made a new commitment to learning and growing myself in the last year. And I'm ready to take this to even the next level that I thought for many years didn't exist. Because the thing, like, I've already done 1,000 houses. I'm getting great results. I want to open my mind up because I know there's many levels to go. I don't think that this really has a ceiling to it. I think you can just get better and better, right? Now, all these little incremental improvements that we get from the post-flip analysis are how we keep creating a competitive edge. And the farther that I get like past my average competitor and the better I am, the bigger gap there is between me and them, the more likely I can stay in house flipping for the rest of their life until I have dementia and don't know where I'm at. Like, that's my plan because I love doing this, right? It's a lot of fun. This is like one of the most fun businesses. It's so cool to do it when it's done correctly. It was not fun back when I was doing everything wrong, but it's so much fun now that, I'm going to be like running around in like a walker. Like, what are you imagining me? Like, he's imagining me as an old person now that's like walking in the house and with the chair. I get the little, electric chair that takes me up and down the steps.
Like, who am I?
Exactly. Where am I at? Yeah, pay full price. I'll take it. Looks good. Exactly. Oh, anyhow, I'll get to blow all my money on when I have dementia, but you know what? It's going to go well until that happens. And hopefully that doesn't happen anytime soon. It does run in my family, actually. Not even a funny subject, but we'll make some fun of it just because, like, in general, I'm sure it's going to happen. Look, we all get old and we have no control over that. That's for sure.
I guess in summary, if you aren't doing post-flip analyses on your flips or on your deals, that's something you need to do. ASAP.
For sure. Yeah, you want to do it. And, and if you're not working with a coach or someone who can really help you do it at a high level, seriously consider that, because I can tell you that every time I do a post-flip analysis on one of my deals, and I do it with one of my higher level coaches that I pay about $3,000 a month to work with, I just get a ton of value out of it. Like, I'm able to pay for that coach's time instantly because he sees things that I don't see. He clarifies stuff. His experience is so much greater than mine, not as a house flipper, but as a business owner. So he's able to teach me high level business concepts. He's been 30 years into doing what he's doing. I'm 10 years into doing what I'm doing. And there's a lot that he knows that I don't know. And he's able to really help me get a very clear understanding of what to do and what not to do. I think doing it with others is great, but as long as the others you're doing with it actually have pretty good head on their shoulders. With that being said, a little quick pitch for us is if you want to work with us in coaching business, we do offer that. And if you want to start making some money with post-flip analysis and, just making more money in general on your flips, me and Delante are here for you. I know that you've probably been crying yourself to sleep because, your profits have not been what they've been. I know because I've cried myself to sleep. And Delante, well, I think Delante, you've never had to cry yourself asleep.
Nah.
Dude, you're too lucky, man.
I sleep easy.
Dude, it's so unfair. It's so unfair. Delante met me like 3 years ago, and I was pretty good at it then. So I'd really gotten my stuff together, and he's really not learned any of the like outdated ways of doing things. He kind of was very fortunate he could just step right in and do things pretty well. And yes, he sleeps really well. So if you want to sleep really well like Delante, then feel free to reach out to us for coaching. Just giving you quick information. We don't want to make this like pitchy. You can contact me at mike@theflipfactor.net. That's my email, and you can check out our website where we have a lot of free content. We share more stuff like this. Our podcasts are on there if you want to see old podcasts or other stuff. A lot of great content and everything we do. That's going to be theflipfactor.net. So Delante, great subject, man. Thank you for bringing it up. I love talking about it. I got some post-flip analysis to do now on a couple flips we just settled that did really well, and I want to kind of discover why they did so well and how I can keep repeating that. So I'm very pumped up about it. So thank you for spending your time with us. I really appreciate it. And Flip Factor family and listeners, I really appreciate you spending time with us also, because I know that you have a lot of options out there when it comes to podcasts and shows. I really appreciate it. If you love what you're hearing, feel free to give us a 5-star review on iTunes. It's very helpful for us. It helps us keep the show going, keep delivering you this great content and sharing with you, just complete content with no fluff. So big thanks for everyone. We appreciate that. We know how valuable your time is. So again, my job is done here and yours has just begun. Get out there and get some work done, start doing some post-flip analysis and start making some money. Everyone have a great day. See you guys.